Instacart is hopping on the ChatGPT train. The company said its app will now be made available through ChatGPT so people can use the chatbot to make purchases with their Instacart account. It, of course, joins a growing number of tech companies that are making their platforms available through ChatGPT. We just had Booking Holdings on the show a couple weeks ago, who was another such company. To break this all down, I want to bring on our e-commerce reporter, Ann Gehan, for the first of our weekly e-commerce and advertising-focused segments. And welcome back to the show. It's great to have you here.
Hey, Akash.
So, look, I was looking at the news, and the reflection I had really was, we know that Fujisimo came from Instacart to OpenAI. I'm kind of wondering what took them so long. This should have been the first partnership that was announced in the first place.
Yeah. OpenAI and Instacart have been working together for a while. I think actually when Fiji was still the CEO of Instacart, they partnered with OpenAI. They were a very early tester of the operator agent. So they've definitely been thinking about this stuff for a while.
So let's talk about this feature here. First of all, have you tried it at all? Have you tried to order bananas through?
Yeah. We were testing it out yesterday in the office, and it's interesting. We did a little test to see whether using ChatGPT or just going right to the Instacart website was faster. And I think if you were ordering a lot of stuff, maybe using ChatGPT would be easier to add it all to your cart kind of in one go versus browsing around. But I think it's interesting. It definitely, once you get it all, once you get your account linked and everything, it is pretty smooth. I was pleasantly surprised. But
What was it? Was it the same price that you saw on Instacart and everything? Like same experience?
as far as I know, I just typed in, I want to order coffee, bananas, whatever kind of staples, and yeah, it called it right in my cart.
Well, and the reason I'm asking is because, I mean, there was a report out today from the New York Times talking about how prices can vary in some cases on the Instacart platform, although the company said it's up to the retailers. We don't set them.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've been thinking about. But, I just want to talk to you broadly about why you think companies are not worried about losing the relationship with their customers. Because look, Instacart doesn't own this experience anymore. It relies entirely on what ChatGPT does. And there could be other, we're going to talk about advertising in a second. I mean, who knows? You could do the Instacart thing. You could have an ad for another grocery store. I mean, isn't this concerning?
Right. I mean, I think that's kind of the calculus that a lot of companies are walking through internally right now is, ChatGPT has 800 or almost 900 million weekly active users at this point. That's a massive audience for any consumer tech company. So is trying to get an early foothold with that audience by working with OpenAI, is that worth potentially losing some customers coming directly to your site or your app? And yeah, like you mentioned, there are obviously advertising implications, other parts of the business that might be affected. So I think a lot of companies are really still trying to decide whether or not it's worth it, but it's definitely a pretty valid concern and question that a lot of companies are thinking about right now. And yeah, I mean, for something like groceries, I don't necessarily know that OpenAI wants to get directly into the grocery business. Never say never, but I think
Yeah.
for groceries,
I think that might have been what Amazon said too at one
yeah.
point.
I mean, yeah, like I said, you never know. Sam Altman is not someone I would ever underestimate, but yeah, I think for a category like groceries, Instacart probably feels more confident that they have those relationships with retailers. That, they can kind of own. I know you mentioned Booking Holdings, like in other categories like travel. That might be somewhere where OpenAI can kind of get in a little more directly. But yeah, it's definitely an important question.
And really the winners here for me are the payment companies, right? Because you have Stripe that for them it's another company to sell to, obviously, but it's more transaction flow.
Yeah, for sure. And Stripe, they worked very closely with OpenAI to kind of co-create this agentic commerce protocol that is now kind of the backbone of all of these features. And yeah, you've seen OpenAI strike some partnerships with PayPal, with Checkout.com, which is a European payments provider.
Right.
So, yeah, I think the payments companies are definitely thinking about how they can kind of get in at the ground floor here as well.
Let me ask you a little bit about the advertising stuff. So there was a kind of a funny tweet from Nick Turley, who now our listeners will know well because
Yeah.
we've written about Nick Turley and we've covered him extensively here on the show. He's the head of ChatGPT. So he had a tweet out that we were talking about this morning. Tell us a little bit about, he was clarifying that no, these are not advertisements that you're seeing on ChatGPT.
Sure. Yeah. So, uh, like you said, Nick Turley did clarify that, there are no ads in ChatGPT right now. I think he even said, they don't, that's not on their roadmap at this point. But yeah, I think especially as they try to layer in more of these app connections, and especially right now, they're prompting ChatGPT users to try
Right.
them out. So if you have a shopping related query, it might prompt you to connect to Target. Or if you have a recipe related query, it might prompt you to connect to Instacart. I was looking for just like a more generic kind of e-commerce query, and it was suggesting that I try their new shopping research tool. So, but Nick's post was addressing some of that confusion because there are definitely users who are interpreting those as ads. Like,
Ads, yeah.
why is ChatGPT telling me to shop at Target?
Well,
So,
and it's also a very delicate experience, right? I mean, people know this thing is changing so quickly, and
right,
sometimes I see something new on ChatGPT, even the way that it gives me a different answer, and I'm like, why? Like the
right.
old thing works just fine, and so look, it's a very delicate customer experience that I think they're going to have to tread very carefully. So anyway, I think there's going to be a lot to watch. Thanks for coming on this week to talk about the e-commerce stuff. I know it's going to be a fast moving story, and we will talk to you again very soon.
Sounds good. Thanks.